Hey, everybody. I want to tell you one of the greatest stories that I have. This is a really amazing night. And the picture that you saw was a picture of me on the back of a bull named Garfield. And let me tell you a little bit about that. So, I was stationed in Germany in the Army, 2nd Signal Brigade. And I was stationed in Mannheim, and I was at a point in my life where, man, I couldn't I was going through a divorce, and I didn't see the point in a lot. And I'm hooked up with these guys who rode the rodeo, and I was like, man, Brad, rodeo. I'm from Cut and Shoot, Texas. I went to Conroe High School. I'm all about the rodeo. This is great. I feel at home. It's a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun because the German people just embraced rodeo, anything Western. You'd go to these nightclubs and they'd have dance competitions that were televised. You would have these bands that sounded exactly like Alabama, and you'd have guys that, and you'd go into a club and you'd see woolly chaps and these boots, and these people would have guns. They would have actual guns walk into the club. Anyway, so I decided I was going to join the rodeo. I'd heard about it from a couple buddies, and they were like, hey, you know what? You ought to join the rodeo. Go with us. We go to rodeos on the weekend and stuff. And I'm like, man, I like to rope. I grew up around that. This ought to be a lot of fun. Went to the first meeting, and after the first meeting, we all went out back behind the place where we were having this rodeo meeting, and they had a bull on a barrel, and that barrel had carpet on it, and that a barrel was hooked up to these ropes with car springs, and we would try and bounce one another the hell off that thing, and it was just so much fun, and I was very sticky. I mean, they could make that thing go as high as they wanted to, and I was hanging on for dear life. So it was amazing. It was a lot of fun. So one of my friends, Ken Cooper, he says to me, he says, hey, you should uh, you should try bull riding. Just you may not draw, because basically what would happen is you would have, everybody would put their name on a strip of paper, you'd pay your entry fee, it'd go into a hat, and then you would draw a name from the hat, and then you'd draw a bull, and then the two of you would be matched up, and then they would do it again until all of the bulls were gone, and then whoever didn't get a draw, they didn't get a bull that week. All right, so I had guaranteed stock. What that means is the first rodeo, the first bull I ever got on, I covered it. I was one of two guys to cover their bull, and I made 8 seconds. I won some money. I was very proud of myself. If I could ever find the video, I would show you this video. You'd be proud of me too. It was hellacious. It was crazy. All right. So that's how I got started in bull riding. Now that picture that you saw was taken in Vilsek. And this was a major rodeo. This is a very big rodeo. And I could probably tell you 10 stories about that rodeo alone. But I want to tell you one in particular. I want to tell you the story of how we got to that rodeo and what happened to us. So grab something to drink real quick. All right. So here's what happened. So me and Sandra and a couple guys, we all pile into this car that she just bought. And she was in the wild horse race. She did some roping. It was actually one of my team roping partners. And she just bought this car, and it was I won't say a Trabant, but it was like a small car. It was kind of like a Volvo, something like that, but it was a beater, okay? This thing, I was being very nice. I was like, oh, man, I don't know if we're going to make it. And we're all laughing and everything, and boom, we get in. It's packed to the gills. The thing couldn't hold another thing. And so 4 of us jump in with our bags, our backpacks, our sleeping bags, because you go to these rodeos, you set up a rodeo camp, and you got to find a place to sleep. But it was a lot of fun. So we start the trek to Vilsek. And I don't remember how long it was, but it was going to be a several-hour drive. It was going to be over a couple-hour drive. Pretty good distance away. And we don't get maybe 30 kilometers away from Mannheim, and the car breaks down. Now I have guaranteed stock. I'm like, hey, look, I have to be there. In other words, I have a bull. I don't have to draw for a bull. I have to be there. Because if I miss, I won't have guaranteed stock anymore. I won't be able to, ride, And I was very interested in getting there. So, what are we going to do? Well, the four of us put our heads together and we're like, look, we got a couple bucks. Let's take a train. This is Europe. This is Germany. They have trains. They have streetcars. Pretty much get wherever you want. You don't need a car, right? So, okay, we take the bare necessities, the bare essentials, and everybody's stuffing things into bags and stuff, and you have some room, and I got some. Okay, we stuff a bunch of stuff in there. And then you start putting stuff in your pockets, socks, and clean clothes and stuff. And you can't forget equipment. I had to carry a bull rope with me. I had to carry my ropes. She had to carry her ropes. I mean, this was a production. Okay. So, we get over to the Bahnhof, and we take a train, and I think we got about halfway to Vilsek. And I cannot remember the name of the town that we stopped in, but here we are. We stopped at this town, and we're waiting in the Bahnhof to take another train the rest of the way. And we're like, oh my God, there isn't another train. What are we going to do? And I said, well, look, there isn't a train leaving from here, but if we take a taxi over to another train station slightly larger, we will be able to catch a train and we'll get straight there. Oh, that's what we got to do then. All right, so everybody, we hailed a cab, jumped in the cab, and we raced. Told the guy, hey, take us over to the other Bahnhof, right, train station. We get out, we pay the guy, and we think everything's great. We've got about 30 minutes before the train comes to take us where we're going to go. And so we're all standing there, and one of the guys brought a guitar, and we're sitting there singing songs, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I detect a little movement. And it's dark. It's like midnight. And I look, and I notice there's a Polizei with a dog standing not far away from us. And I thought, well, maybe he heard the music, wanted to come over and check it out. And I look over to the other side to say something to someone, and over Mike's shoulder, I see another Polizei. And he has a dog, too. Now, look, I started to get a little bit nervous because anyone that's ever been to Germany, anyone that's ever seen video or whatever of Polizei, they're serious. They don't play. So anyway, I'm getting a little bit nervous, and I said, hey, Sandra, do you under my breath, I'm like, do you see this? And all of a sudden, out of the shadows, we're surrounded by Polizei and dogs. Every one of them had dogs. And one Polizei officer comes up, and he says, where are you going? Who are you, and where are you going? So I reached my hand out. I'm going to shake his hand. I said, well, we're headed to a rodeo. And he's like, rodeo? What's that? And so I'm doing my best. I'm trying to speak a little bit of German to him, and I'm trying to make him comfortable. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what's going on here? And he says, who has the cocaine? Like, you got me, homeboy. Who's got the cocaine? What do you mean, who's got the cocaine? He said, one of you has some cocaine. And it's in your pocket. And at that, my heart dropped. I'm like, dude, no, don't have any cocaine for you, bro. Mike starts laughing. And now all the Polizei, they're all like, and he says, is this what you're looking for? And out of his pocket, he pulls out a Coke can size bag of white powder. And I nearly crap myself. I'm like, dude, if that's cocaine, we are never getting out of prison. And of course, he's still laughing, and the dogs are, and he opens the bag, and he says, it's sugar. I took it out of my bag. We're going to be camping. I needed sugar for my coffee. And the captain of the Polizei that is there, police, he gets this grin on his face like, dude, really? You expect me to believe that? So Mike licks his finger, dips it in there. Hey, it's sugar. And he looks closer, and sure enough, it's pretty obvious. But the cab driver, when he went to pay, the cab driver sees him whip out this bag. He sets it on the hood of the cab, and the cab driver's eyes are bugged out, and he calls the police thinking that we had a half pound of cocaine that we were taking to a rodeo or wherever the heck we said we were going. Now, meanwhile, the train stops. We're occupied. The last train. Train pulls up. People get off. People get on. And it moves along without us on it. We are still dealing with Captain Polizei and the dogs and the whatnot. And by that time, we're all, everybody's laughing. I'm relieved. I just got back the 30 years of my life that I thought I was going to lose. And we start to say goodbye to the police and to the dogs. And I point out how can we get to Vilsek? That's where this rodeo is. And the guy turns around to me and he says, what is a rodeo? So I explain it to him, and he's very interested. And all of the other guys come back around, and they put us in a van with the dogs. And they drove us an hour and a half, all of us, an hour and a half to Vilsek. Drove us around Vilsek for about 20 minutes trying to find the fairground, and dropped us off at the rodeo. And that is why you saw that picture. Have a great night. I love it. It's fun.